Captain Misato Katsuragi, NERV's Tactical Operations Senior Officer and sole survivor of the Katsuragi expedition. Her father's sacrifice will encourage her to fulfill her destiny, avenge him. Misato joined NERV fueled by the hatred towards the Angels. Her evolution as NERV Senior Officer is one of the most interesting themes on the story. She's decisive, strong, assertive, and fun, but she also has a dark side, as her insecurities has led her through a path of loneliness and hypersexualized expressions, from fan service to heroic deeds. This is a character study on one of the most iconic representations of the series. This is Misato Over-Explained Part 1. On my last two videos of the series, I went over two very important characters, Rei and Asuka. Those videos were a quick overview to those characters' roles in the series. This video, however, is going to be a bit different. This is going to be my first part of a series of videos in which I will do a full character study, from episode 1 to episode 26. I may do a full character study on both Asuka and Rei in the future. So if you want to be notified for future installments, subscribe to the channel, drop a like to this video, and remember to click the notification bell button. Now, let's begin. The first time that we see Misato is early on in episode 1, when Shinji is holding a picture of her so he can recognize her when she picks him up from the station. The famous pay attention picture. Let's examine it. We see an image of Misato bending over and winking, with a peace sign and a lipstick kiss on it. Also it reads, to Shinji, I will be picking you up, so wait for me, okay? And a little heart. And of course the famous pay attention, with an arrow pointing her cleavage. This picture, added to Misato's legs shot, are very important to the introduction to the character. The director is telling the audience that there is something going on between Misato and her sexuality. What it seems to be a soft fan service is actually a real-life Freudian theory. This is the way that Misato introduces herself to men that she hasn't met yet. We also see Misato in the opening credits, naked, which is letting us know that she's vulnerable and isolated, but more on that later. We also know that Misato is lost while looking for Shinji. This is a personality trait. She, herself, is lost. That is our first impression of Misato. Not only that she is lost and has issues with her sexuality, but also she is clumsy. Misato then gets to Shinji on the last minute to save him from an explosion. Here Misato is assuming a mother-like role. By now we know that Misato is a desired woman, and the director makes a strong emphasis on it, showing us her body. Then Misato is more worried for her car reparations and her dress than for Shinji's state, or the angel that is slamming the city. After all, she is NERV's senior officer responsible for the delivery of a high-profile asset to headquarters. Now we know she is unprofessional and irresponsible. Not only that, while Shinji focuses on the real problem, Misato is just thinking on superficial stuff. She's obviously not the adult in the car. Then they reach to the geofront. Once again, Misato is lost. At this point, Shinji understands that he is not dealing with an adult, but with a child on a woman's body. When Shinji refuses to pilot the EVA, we see her serious side, as she tried to convince him by saying that this is the only way to stop running away from his father and himself. In this scene, we are introduced to her cold side for the first time. On episode 2, we see what is probably 90% of Misato's job, which is prepare the city for a future attack. She is actually in charge of very sensitive stuff. Then she goes for Shinji and has a brilliant idea. She tells Ritsuko that she's taking him to live with her and that she won't be taking advantage of him on any way. Right? Right. Ritsuko knows what we know already. Misato is not mother material, but she has the potential to be a pretty good older sister. Once we get to Misato's apartment, she and Shinji starts to share some household responsibilities, in which Shinji gets all the load. Again, Misato needs someone to keep her life a little bit organized. Besides, in very conservative cultures, like the Japanese, a woman that do not know how to take and keep up with basic home responsibilities could be considered very anti-feminine. Her apartment is on an empty building. We know it's empty because her balcony is the only one occupied, and we really never get to see anyone on the building other than themselves. Again, this is intentionally made to emphasize not only Misato's isolation, but also the rest of the characters. Misato also states that she just moved in. We do not have proof, however, where she was before. My best guess is Germany, but the show really does not specify it. Anyway, she says this to try to sympathize with Shinji, kind of saying we both are in this together and we are kind of new on it as well. Pen Pen is a mystery to me. It always has. There is absolutely no reason for an early 30s single drunkard to have a penguin other than being just a plain pet. Oh yeah, she also drinks heavily, and she's pretty good at it, as we never see her drunk or with a heavy hangover on the job. At least on that, she is professional. On these scenes, we again see shots on Misato's cleavage and butt, over-sexualizing her. Also, she enjoys invading Shinji's privacy. This is natural for her, as she is telling that little boy that she is the dominant figure, and knows that Shinji is weak against exposure of female sexuality. Either Misato takes advantage of it to impose her dominance, or she wants him to get used to it and embrace his masculinity. Other than that, it's just fan service. By the end of the episode, Shinji had defeated Gagyo and found himself alone in his room. It's funny how Misato just opens his door to praise him for his victory. A little bit late for that in my opinion, but shows once again that Misato has no sense of privacy, at least with Shinji. On episode 3, we know that Misato is a little bit uncomfortable by the treatment that Shinji is getting at NERV. He's being used as a tool. She would have rather had a boy with more character to avoid her guilty feeling. However, by living with Shinji is a reminder of what she and NERV are doing with the boy. The lack of communication between Shinji and Misato starts to appear on the story as she sleeps until late while he wakes up early to go to school. Another proof that Misato is not mother material, but more like an irresponsible roommate. Although Misato has no problem violating Shinji's privacy, their communication starts to be very superficial. On episode 4, we see Misato a little bit concerned about Shinji's behavior, as he has left. She has tried to make him feel comfortable and at home, as she writes on his door, Shinji's room, or how it's dubbed in some languages, the room of the handsome Shinji. I myself cannot read Japanese, so I have to trust on the translation. Again, we see what is a constant trait on Misato. She really has problems waking up early. When Toji and Kensuke rings the bell of her apartment, Misato opens the doors anxiously. She at this point is all in on her feeling of responsibility for Shinji. She also lies to the boys stating that Shinji was in headquarters and then she closes the door and kicks it. This is an act of frustration. She truly cares for someone else, in this case Shinji. Misato will spend most of episode 4 feeling worried about Shinji. But we also see her cold side again, when she says to Shinji that she is not going under any circumstances to praise him for his attitude. However, it's very obvious at this point that Misato cares a lot for Shinji, and what she is saying is superficial. It's just a way to try to keep him on his feet, as Misato understands that Shinji's behavior will have extreme consequences. To the point that Misato puts Shinji on the spot and tells him to either pilot the Evangelion unit or run away. Those are his only two options. She, as any human being, has a patience, and Shinji's cynicism is taking hers to its limits, as she gets sick of it and tells him to get out. The hedgehog dilemma is a recurrent term on the series. It's basically a metaphor for human intimacy and how we deal with it. A hedgehog, when feeling alone or cold, tries to seek the company of another hedgehog. However, they should decide either being alone and cold or the pain that they bring to each other's sharp spine. Humans, when alone, they avoid pain that other humans can bring, but by deciding to do this, they will remain alone. That's the dilemma. Misato is rejecting Shinji at this point of the story to avoid being hurt by his fragile personality, but it's way too late for that, as she's already fond of him. One could argue that Shinji represents the only thing that has been stable for her in a long time. She cannot handle the idea of losing him and runs desperately to find him, and once she has, she feels comfort and happiness. Her character is evolving. Early on episode 5, Misato asks some questions about Rei. This has bothered me some time. How a senior officer of NERV is not going to know a basic overview of one of her pilot's backgrounds. If you have watched the show, you by now know the hidden secret of Rei, but I would have guessed that Gendo Ikari would have at least worked on a fake background to avoid others being suspicious about Rei at this point. However, now I understand the purpose of this interaction, which serves for a narrative one. Misato represents the audience, as she makes basic questions in this scene that we want to know. I will be skipping those line of questions as we know we are provided with fake answers. In this episode, Ritsuko decides to come for dinner. She points out what we already know, that Misato is a terrible housekeeper, role that has been assumed by Shinji. In episode 6, we see Misato's most professional side for the first time, as Shinji is being taken care of in the hospital for his injuries due to Ramiel attack. We see her not only to worry about Shinji's health, but to take command of a whole operation that will directly affect the lives of every single person in Japan. We discover another layer of Misato's personality. She's a decision maker, but she needs all the information at her disposal to make a responsible decision. That fan service role has been left in the past. Now she's Captain Katsuragi, and she has work to do. She not only devised a plan to destroy the Angel threat, but also we are shown that she respects the chain of command, as she presents her plan first to her commander, Gendo Ikari, awaiting to be approved. This is basic military routine. She cannot take decisions by herself, at least not all of them. She knows it, accepts it, and follows the rules as established. We also discover at this point the reason why NERV had chosen Captain Katsuragi to fulfill such an important role. She's efficient, straightforward, she improvises, has new ideas, and takes her job very serious. To the point that she herself is the one going around seizing public and private property and assets for what she needs. She is the face of NERV in this case, and has no shame whatsoever on taking away what she needs to accomplish her goals, even if she has to take power from all of Japan. However, she's not very good on pep talk, as she tells to a fragile Shinji that she's giving him the electric power of all of Japan. Good luck with that, boy. We know how the rest of the episode goes. Ramiel is defeated, and Shinji goes and rescues Rei. And that is all for today's episode. In a few days I will be posting the second part, so remember to subscribe and hit the notification bell button so you are updated on when that episode comes up. Guys, thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to like the video if you did. I publish Evangelion and other anime related content on my channel every week, and I hope to see you there very soon.